So here you go. I put again the timer for 33 minutes, so just 5 minutes before the camcorder itself cuts the film. So yeah, I try to make my family safe, and in some cases in mafia when came to me, because you know, I'm not a special guy. They came to me sometimes as well. When I rented an apartment in city, and the guy went bad, and he wanted sometime more money than we agreed to, and I refused to pay, and he cut my water, etc. And you know, as I have 2 children and you know, family, I didn't want any problems. I didn't want to deal bad with anybody, but then this guy, owner of a house called Mafia on me, and you know, we just talked, and they said, guys, like, okay, I understand, you know, they knew me and I knew them because we already dealt, but they wanted to make money. It doesn't matter, you know, it matters who's right. You know, in real mafia it matters who's right. It doesn't matter that you know, you are like just stronger, you know. So actually I explained my position, and I agreed that I move out of the apartment because I didn't want any have problems. So I found another place, and because the guy actually the owner started with doing on me because somebody offered him big money. He wanted to sell this apartment. It was 4-room apartment in the very center of a town, old town, and on the 3rd floor on the roof floor, because little town, little houses, three floor houses, but it was with a view on the you know, nice view, and he was offered very good money for his apartment, and I was just paying him rent, and he wanted to make quick cash, so he started to squeeze me, you know, and you know, finally I even gave to the mafia guys who came after me. I gave him, look, you did the job, I do the same job, and you know, I gave him some extra cash out of a contract. So look, we know each other, and we talk later again, and you know. So they made money, and everybody was happy. I mean, and life went on, you know. But you know, as this kind of life, it wasn't for me anyway. I wanted to have a legal business, and it was very tough to make money in a clean way. And I didn't make any money clean way. And the government, I mean, clean way, that in cinema, in business, because people didn't have any money. They just didn't have money. Cinema was half empty, so I was having 13 people working in cinema, paying all the salaries, and government started the litigation, and I had to take lawyers, and I decided, no, I'm not gonna. And even some guys, they came to me and say, like, pay us. That's some from government side, and they say, pay us, and we close this case, you know. And you know, I said no, that I go to court. And because I have case against the government, if I take myself a lawyer against the local government, certainly I lose, because not even certainly I lose, but I would have to pay so much money to the lawyers, it just would make me bankrupt. But a little bit, I had my own lawyers, I mean, friends who worked for me for free sometimes. So I got an advice, and they found that legally, if a government goes on after me, I can turn the case against them during the process without paying anything. So, because I'm not because of paying lawyers only. In my country was if you open the case, you have to pay 1/10. I think 1/10 you have to pay of the case into the court before you even start the case. And this case was in millions about taxes, so I should have paid hundreds of thousands just right in the beginning into the court without knowing if I win the case or won't. So I decided I better let the government go after me, and I turned the case against them. But the pressure went so hard, and I got threats, bomb threats actually, to the cinema. I had to call police, and everybody went out, while police with the dogs were checking the cinema about bombs and all kinds of this stuff. So I was just annoyed, and water was cut off, and all kinds of light was sometimes cut off, just to annoy me. The government couldn't do anything just because they knew I have a case against them. So they just annoyed me. But anyway, the pressure got so hard, and they finally told me that because of my old one, I had one criminal case for shooting for 3 years. It was already expired by this time, but anyway, they said, as you have a history of criminal crime, then we can put up to 15 years for prison for over $1 million on taxes. I decided it's better to leave my country, and that's what happened. I just escaped my country, and that time the country had still borders with Europe. It wasn't like a European country, so I found people who helped me over the border, and I left my family behind, and my ex-wife later, I actually divorced. I divorced to protect my family. So anytime somebody went to my family, the police from side of the government because of taxes, she said, I don't know anything, he's disappeared. We are divorced, so I protected my family like that. We got actually separated from my ex, not because of we wanted to separate. She came to visit me to France years later once, but she didn't want to come over there, and I don't want to talk about my wife too much because I don't respect for certain things her. Basically we ended up after years of being apart, just it broke up, and she didn't let me talk to my children anymore, and so on. Anyway, let's not talk about these things. So that's the story after the army, and I was actually one case was that I got into car accident right after army. I guess yes, I came back maybe some September or something like that, end of August. I was 5.5 months in Russian military, and I continued practicing martial arts, and several ones. And in our little country, we didn't have any cell phones time, it was different age. People had nothing to do, so they trained a lot in different physical stuff as well. And so it's not sort of hanging on computer or internet all the time. We didn't have internet at the time yet, just for the beginning of internet age. And as I trained, and we had some philosophical lecture in capital of the city. And I basically, just a month or two after coming back from army, I got into the one of my friends, a girl. She was in hospital. I visited her in hospital, and I came back home, and suddenly police showed up behind my door and saying that someone has stolen something from hospital. I just happened to be, I was a thief, so I just happened to be in a hospital same time, and they suspected me because I was there visiting her, and I invited them in, and I was just repairing television. It was old television, black white still, and no, I had color television. Yes, it was color already, and I was just cleaning it. Since I took everything open and I was cleaning, and suddenly door rings, and the police showed up, and I haven't done anything. So it was even beginning before I started to do any debt collection, anything. I wasn't involved in anything, so I was just surprised. And anyway, it took some time, but same day I had to go to the capital with the car, with my father's car. Father had died, and he left me car. Father died when I was in army, so I was just surprised, and they let me, okay, check the house. I had nothing to hide, and we checked the house, and my house was full of electronics. I mean, for making electronic stuff, because my father was a military electronic engineer, head of engineering and computing division in Russian military factory, and it was just full of electronics, and it took time, so we had to check. It was full of little stuff, so we took time then to go through all that, and I just cleaned the TV, I put it together away, and of course witnesses were called from the street to see that police don't do nothing wrong, and they took time to look everything, and I lost time. I lost a couple of hours just to go to take a car and go to the philosophical lecture. And when they left, it was just I lost my time, and I decided, no, I still have time if I go fast. It's too hard, it's too loud for me itself. I don't know if you hear loud, but for me ears are loud already. So basically, I looked at the time, and I could still reach the beginning of lectures in the capital. So I took the car and I pressed the maximum out of the car. It was old GAZ 21 Volga, like a tank, you know. It's a very heavy car, and I pressed the maximum out, and my father, as an engineer as well and electronic specialist, he had enforced the car. I don't know, not enforced, but accelerated the car in engine. He did something, so it was going pretty fast for these times, like 160, which was incredible speed for this old car. They usually never went more than 120, so Soviet car. And so I pressed the maximum, and suddenly I wake up next day in the hospital. You know, I didn't know where I was, what I did, and I just remember that one point, last memory I remembered was one guy stopped the car, and I was hitchhiker myself in youth. So I said, even it was very rainy and snowy, and it was almost 2 months after coming back from army. It was already winter becoming in the country. It was very dark evening, especially, and slippery and snow. And I said, "What's the poor guy standing outside?" I stop and take him too in the car, but he said no, he goes to another direction. I had to go another road, so I left him in the countryside where he was. I didn't take him, but that was my last memory. I opened the eyes in a hospital, and they told me that actually I smashed the car. And the police came and looked at me and looked at my medical situation, and they said me, okay, that you already got your lesson, so we don't do anything to you criminally. I mean, and so if my voice starts lower now, I have to put a little bit higher music, because otherwise I know that the cam recorder is very bad. A little bit higher music, so I have to speak louder to have a good sound on video. And they didn't do anything to me, and they just explained what happened. That happened that I was passing another car, and we had like Belaz. Belaz is like huge tractor, Russia tractor, not Belaz. Belaz is a carrier truck. I don't remember the name. Anyway, it's not a normal tractor. It's a big tractor. Pushes snow. And the tractor in our country, they didn't have lights on top of a shovel, snow shovel. We had lights in the middle only, like on engine. And when I was passing the car, probably, I don't remember it, but probably I tried to, the tractor was coming on my side, plowing snow. I tried to pass between, but I didn't see the shovel, so I snapped the shovel with the side of my Volga, and it was if a car Volga is like this, let's say, then the car was like this after that. So the police told me that actually when we arrived, they thought that I'm dead because the car was completely smashed, and probably we weren't trained so much that we didn't check my bodily functions well, but they thought I'm dead because I was a clump of blood, and they said that when they realized that I moved, then they put me on top of the police car and brought me to hospital because it's countryside. It was far from cities. City was like 20 kilometers from there, maybe less, but closest city. I mean, it's still small town hospital. And they brought me on the roof of a car, but it was snowing and zero. The cold saved me because of slowed metabolism, and as I was very well trained in martial arts as well, by surprise of the doctors, they said I should have been dead by the impact because of internal organs should have been all in trashes, because it was only like 80 meters from the impact to the roadside where the car also hit the tree. It was 80 meters from 160 kilometers an hour. You can imagine the slowdown. It wasn't complete impact, but it was pretty bad. So anyway, I had my knee broken and 5 pieces, and my arm is all burnt because the car kind of, you see, there is something missing in my, here should be one like here, this thing, and here is not. It was all cut away. It was burnt in a car because of contact, how to say, cable, because of shortcut here, it was, it melted and on my arm, and it burnt very deeply. But even that, I think only I was in hospital a couple of days, and I left with no couple of days, 1 week probably, because I had some tubes in my knee after operation. As soon as we took off the tubes, I left, and it was only a few days. I remember it was less than a week. I left the hospital, and my leg was still in gips. I don't know in English, maybe same word. Gips, it means just put it hard that the leg wouldn't move, so I had to cure. And my mother brought me crutches to hospital, and she took a taxi, and I decided I'm gonna leave. I'm not gonna stay in hospital. And she brought me to hometown back, and I think evening later and next morning we went to the garage, because a friend of my father, he took the car and brought the truck back to my city. And when we didn't know the situation of the car, because you know, me, my sister and mother, we didn't know. And when we opened the doors of the garage, it was like a few seconds of silence, and when we laughed like madly and like crazily, because it was just impossible that just a few days after, you know, I'm walking after a few days out of hospital, and the car was complete trash, you know, nothing to take anymore. I said the car was a normal car, let's say it like this, and it was like this. Just it sticked one corner to a shovel of tractor, and it pulled it completely clean one side, and same time it made a rhomb from but the trapezoid they made from the car. It was just, instead of 2 meters wide, Russia car is 180, I think it was just 1 meter wide. So you can imagine we had a mad laugh over this car. And that was my heritage, only heritage from my father, because my sister got the garage, and I sold it for documents. So one guy had some cars built up himself, the Volga, from pieces, and he wanted to have just a number to register, and he bought it from, you know, for just for documents. And I gave him a lot of backup doors, and my father was very well prepared. He had both backup pieces for cars for every occasion. The garage was full of this, you know, because Russian cars were rusted very fast, even in good attention. So he just was careful, both all he could in case doors would rust and he would have to change it. So I gave it all to the guy. Anyway, it's not important anymore. That's not my life story. So I went to hospital myself, because when the medical check, they told me in my town already, not where I was cured. Actually, I have to tell one word about this town where I was operated. I was just very lucky, because in this country side little town where I happened to have an accident, not lucky because of accident, but because of this hospital. In this hospital was one doctor who himself, when he was young, he was in car accident, and he lost his leg, and he became doctor without the leg, and he was the best bone doctor in the country. He knew everything about bones. He was an expert, and he fixed my knee, and I'm walking still because everybody told me I should have been forever. Even he, when he fixed it, I thought I will forever on crutches, but just on feet. But I'll tell you later, I wasn't in crutches, I trained. And he was the best doctor, and because of him, he fixed so well the knee. It's twice as big as other key still, because it was put from 5 pieces, and when it grows together, it just have some, you know, it's not the same size forever. But I went every year after that accident. I went to thank this doctor to his home. I visited him home, and for many years, I mean 5-6 years, I went every year to visit him in his town and thank him and talk about my situation. And he couldn't believe that after what he did, that I was able to walk, because for his opinion it was impossible, you know, kind of. And how I did, because when I arrived back to my home after the accident, the local medical surgeon, he looked at all my situation, and you know, he looked that I have to, they have to operate my arm, and if they're lucky, because it was burnt, and it was the old meat was dying off, and I had to clean myself, because the medical sisters were not sisters. In our country, it's called siostra, sisters, but it's called like what's called? Doesn't matter. You know, helping stuff. My English not perfect, as you know, so they didn't do very good job. So in the sense that they hurt me, so I did myself more carefully. So I operated myself. Every time I went to a cleaning of taking out the dead skin, dead meat from my arm. Finally, until it get clean red, then the surgeon told me, now we have to operate and put it everything that you could move the hand. And if you're lucky, you know, Russia humor is like Russia humor, you know. Before putting me on narco mask, and he said, if you're lucky, we leave your arm. And you know, and later he explained why he said that, because he said that it was 1 centimeter I lost of my meat, muscles from my arm. So it was very close to artery. So if the artery would got infection or something, then they wouldn't have saved my arm. But I was again lucky, and good surgeons, nothing to say about that. The good surgeons were also big thanks to them, and they saved my arm. And I later trained a lot, and I got my arm back. I could even on this arm, I could after make pull-ups on one hand only, but not on pure muscle, just a little movement. I didn't stop training, you know. But about the leg, after a few about knee, I mean, after a few weeks they took off gips, I mean the hard protection from the feet, and after several weeks of not moving the foot, it was completely still, my muscles had atrophied, and it was as it was operated and put together, it was not moving very well, obviously, the knee. I switch off heat, sorry, it's very hot here. And I was, when gips was taken off, I was put on, after a couple of months actually, it was a couple of months, yes, was gips. And when I was admitted to hospital to the time when they took off the gips for a knee to grow together, they said, now you have to go to Gestapo. Gestapo means like exercise room. We called it Gestapo because they inflicted a lot of pain there. But after being a couple of times in Gestapo, I see that they were not tough enough. So I did myself, because they said, you know, if you work hard, you can a little bit move your leg. You can a little bit move, you can walk more or less normally.